Welcome, everyone, to the Minions of the Zoo Tuesday edition. I'm your keeper, Skep Tock, and with me I have Minions Jenna,
Hi.
Sora Luna,
Good evening.
Blind Press.
I'm back.
We've got Johnny Hellcat with us tonight,
Hello.
masquerading as Per Sparrow. And
Mhm.
we have the Harry channel with us as well.
Good evening.
Wanted to make sure you were present and accounted for. I didn't know if you were still muted, Harry. I hope everyone has had a wonderful day today. We have the privilege of living in calm economic times, calm political times, and no major changes in our social world happened today, except for the end of Lords of the Night. Um, it's been kind of an eventful week. I'd like to go around and just see how everybody's handling that. Any comments about all the kerfuffle that's going on in society, politics, international relations,
It's
and
good to
Lords
see
of the
that
Nights?
it's good to see that it's mostly peaceful.
It's mostly peace.
Mostly Well, first off, I would just. I have a couple of comments, but before I get into my rant, I just want to thank the Lords of the Night for the awesome streams that we've been lucky enough to have for, God, 5 years now. And without them, this whole thing called Minions wouldn't really be a whole thing called Minions. So, thank you, Scribbles and Monkey and Satsu and SDA and everybody that made up the Lords of the Night over the years for being so goddamn entertaining and also allowing minions to be minions.
Well said. Very
Yes.
well said. So many of us. So many of us. In fact, as I look at Blind Press Sora Luna, I met you both in chat
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
on LOTM.
Yep.
And long before Minions was a thing.
Yep.
My goodness.
Absolutely.
And I remember the first Minions broadcasts. I mean, I was a listener in chat of Minions probably from sometime in the first month. Certainly in the first month. You know, when Flair Fritz would have like 5 accounts with plays on his name.
Mm-hmm.
Just, and I didn't even understand how all of that technology worked back then. And they were just goofing around. They were it really was just like a clubhouse, and that's still what I love about Minions. It's like a bar,
Yeah.
but it's like a really good bar. I don't know. I'm gushing a little bit. But it was fun to see Lords of the Night all together with SDA, Satsu, Monkey, and Scribbles, and Sinatra, of course, has been there for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Polly was almost comic relief. He sounded pretty hammered. And but I think he was having a good time. And
I was gonna say, if this is a bar, that I'm calling Ratzenberger.
yeah. No, he's one thing about Polly, he has the deepest voice.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that is just a voice that's made for radio. And when he's been hoisting a few, I think it even gets deeper.
Yeah, it does.
You know, Monkey was trying to bring the deep voice, to compete with Polly, but he doesn't have the richness and the timbre.
He's got a different kind of deep voice.
Well, it's called a baritone instead of a bass.
But yeah.
it's somewhat higher pitched. It's still, but and what you hear with Monkey is how resonant his voice is.
Mm-hmm.
And Monkey's got a very beautiful radio voice, but it's not as basso profundo
Yeah.
as uh, Polly's is. Polly's got an amazing voice. Sinatra is just providing the cynical, humorous counterpoint,
Mm-hmm.
and Satsu being just the God, all American. If you don't love Satsu, there's something seriously wrong with you.
Right? Like he's like just and the deadpan sarcasm
Yeah.
that he can deliver is
Yes.
just I cannot wait until freaking little one starts talking
Yeah.
because
She turned 2 today.
she sure did.
God, she's so
And-
big.
Like I cannot wait to hear some of the stuff that she's gonna come up with.
Yeah.
Between him and Squishy, that little girl is gonna just be the comeback queen, I guarantee you.
Here's an interesting thing about Lords of the Night. I sort of think they won't be able to stay apart from each other, and that various partnerships of one form or another are likely to develop.
Mhm.
And I think that's a good thing. They'll be very natural the way they do. The right people will fall together. But I wouldn't be surprised if there were one or two interesting streams, and maybe even like
A new
a
iteration.
repetitive stream like LOTN was,
Mhm.
that come out of the relationships that those guys have with each other.
Yeah.
I also wouldn't be surprised if Polly was involved, because he really he's got a good mind. He's a very smart guy, very thoughtful, very reasonable when he's sober, and he's still got his voice when he's drunk. So there you go. But anyway, that was fun to see them all together. Fun to do the last hurrah together, and
So
that
I
was a very
remember-
interesting stream.
Their test
Yeah.
stream. I listened to that. I was one of the idiots being like, "Oh, what's this?" It was a test stream. They were just seeing if they could stream. And the next day they did a show. Or 2 days later.
Yeah, they were doing it with Google Hangouts back then.
Yep.
Mhm.
Think about that.
I miss Google Hangouts.
Yeah,
That was good times.
that's what I started out with, doing Minions in what was it, 2017, 18? I can't even remember. 2017 was about March or April. It was 2017. That's when it was. I was a guest a few times, and then I talked with Hammer, and suddenly I was hosting. I was alternating on Sundays with Poppy.
And that's when I joined in.
Yes, and I ran across you and started pestering you.
BP,
Yeah,
BP. You want to do this?
I was watching a replay of one of Monkey's streams, and it was near the end of the stream, and I'm just thinking, I'm like, it wouldn't be that hard to at least try and find like the hardest part would be trying to find someone to stream with.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, maybe that's not just for me. I'm maybe I won't do it. And then the first, like the video ended, and the first video that popped up is how to set up a stream. That monkey put up, and I'm just like, okay, click.
Awesome.
And then I watched it, and I'm like,
This is a sign.
I'm like,
Exactly.
all right. And so, yeah, like that night, before they called it Lords of the Night,
Mhm.
or is it? It was either before or like shortly afterwards. It was around the time when they came up with the name. I just sent out a super chat. I'm like, I'm gonna try this streaming thing. Who wants in? And Irate Prostate and Jack Cochran are like, all right, let's do it.
Yeah.
And yeah, pretty much how I got started.
Interesting.
Cool.
And then, let's see, my second stream had P-Dog Knight in there, and I think also Jack, and I'll have to think back. I think also Irate too. But yeah, just it pretty much took off from there.
I got into streaming because I responded to Poppy, who was asking on Twitter, like most likely for the minions to respond, but I had followed her because I had seen her mention in Monkey's chat that she was also that she was visually impaired. And then I followed her, and I saw that people in the blind community were kind of treating her like garbage. So I, kind of in a couple of tweets, here and there, I was defending her and stuff. And then she put out a thing that was like, hey, I don't have any takers for stream tonight. Is anybody interested? For minions. And I replied, I'm like, we've never talked or whatever. But I've always kind of wanted to try streaming. I'd be interested. And she's like, okay. And then that's how I got into streaming on Minions. And then I was like, and I'm like, this is really fun. And then that's when I started streaming myself.
You and I had spoken earlier in the day, Blind Press, or text each other. You said you had a rant regarding Canada.
Well, it's not really Canada. It's that everybody's government in the West, basically, and how everybody has dealt with the response to this wonderful virus that we've all been dealing with. Now, disclaimer for, YouTube terms of service and everything. I am not about to say that COVID is not real, because it is. Okay, that is not what I am arguing.
COVID is definitely
COVID is real.
It's serious.
It is a serious illness.
Masks work.
It
vax
does
works.
affect. Yeah.
We should have vaccine barcodes tattooed on our forehead just to Susan.
But the way our governments have reacted to this virus, which is a real virus, but is nowhere near as virulent, and it is nowhere close to, say, smallpox or polio or
the measles
or meningitis. I could go on.
Or typhoid, or typhus, or
yeah. Bubonic
diphtheria,
diphtheria,
or pneumonic plague.
Or
other kind.
The
serious plague.
Yep. So, so our governments have basically made us all so jaded with their overreaction that the next time a very, very virulent problem happens, one that is on the scale of the Black Death, or the Justinian Plague, or the smallpox outbreaks, or the cholera outbreaks, we're fucked, because nobody's going to listen, because everybody's just going to be, oh, sure, last time they said this, it was, the virus was real, but it was, nowhere where they were making it out to be. Everybody just needs to fucking, they won't take it seriously. And then we will see what a pandemic really, really looks like. And especially with how connected we are now, it will be devastating. And the next time somebody develops a vaccine that could potentially reverse that problem, nobody's going to want to take it, even without it being mandatory, because of all of this mandatory. So, like, you guys know I lost my sight to an actual anti-vaxxer. And being against mandatory vaccines does not make you an anti-vaxxer.
No.
It doesn't. I'm so sick of seeing that, oh, fucking anti-vaxxers against mandatory vaccines. That's not anti-vax.
Yeah. There
That's-
are actual anti-vaxxers
Yes.
who believe that vaccines come from Satan
Yes.
or something.
Cause
Yeah.
autism.
Evil mermaids
They're-
or whatever.
Yeah, those people are stupid, uneducated, dangerous people. Okay? But do not lump people who are concerned with their rights
Well, yeah.
in with those people.
No,
and
that's very legitimate too.
The next time a vaccine is created to save people's lives, nobody is going to want to take it.
Yeah. Yeah. The government using the virus to improve its control over its people for their own good, of course, is a thing. And, there's a legitimate objection to the encroachment of government power under the guise of, oh, it's just for the emergency. And then we'll be, what we promise we'll give you your rights back. That never happens. That never effing happens. And so, it's and it's also a legitimate position to have a reason to not be vaccinated. The question to me is that in a situation where it was really cut and dry about if you get the vaccine, you are immune from a disease, and if you don't get the vaccine, you not only, if you catch the disease, could die, but you could spread the disease, and it's very easy to catch. In a case like that, there's a social imperative that is part of the kind of the agreement that we make when we say we're going to live together in polite society,
Right.
in a functioning society, that says you can't, it's irresponsible for you to not get a vaccine in that situation, as long as it's physically safe for you to do so.
Yeah.
And you have the ability to afford it if it costs something, or whatever it takes. That's not, I don't feel that particular set of circumstances exists with COVID.
I agree.
It's a lot more complicated. The COVID situation is a lot more complicated. There's nothing cut and dry about it. And I don't really have a good answer for that.
It's very interesting because we went through maybe not to this degree, but something equally like scary in terms of deaths with swine flu, right? And people were taking it seriously. I know universities, because that was during my time in school and stuff. So they immediately set up ways to report your symptoms, stay home, you get allowances to do things. We don't want you in class. You have a sniffle, stay home, don't go out of your dorms, call the nurse line, et cetera, et cetera. So things were put in place quite quickly. But there wasn't this sudden control on movement, control on what's allowed to be open or closed, even though it was like you could catch it like the flu, right?
Yeah.
Someone sneezes on you
Even
And
during SARS, it wasn't like this. Like,
no, it was just, did you come from these, did you travel from this, were you in China or Asia recently? Are you having respiratory problems? Go to the hospital, get checked, stay home.
Oh
like
yeah.
COVID is, I think, probably one of the first viruses that has been politicized the way
Mm.
that it, because like, I don't know if you um remember Sora, the meningitis outbreak. um I don't know if it was uh or if you were in Canada in the like late 90s. There was
Um, I
a,
was, but I don't remember.
so there was I don't know if it would made it all the way to BC, but there was in Ontario at least a
I
viral
remember this.
meningitis outbreak.
I remember this.
Um, and it was scary. Like there was teenagers and yeah, like like every like basically kids up to young adults were falling very very ill of viral meningitis and dying.
Yeah.
And
They would
there,
get the viral meningitis, and here's the way that happens. You get the viral meningitis, and then there's this follow-on bacterial
mhm,
infection of your meninges. That's why it's called meningitis. It's a place kind of in your neck, and when the bacteria moves in, you're a dead duck.
mhm,
My wife had that when she was younger, and it wrecked her shit pretty good.
Yeah.
yep. And I remember there was a very, very concerted rush, but it was not a panicked rush to get the meningitis vaccine given out. There was like vaccine clinics set up in the gymnasiums of pretty much every public school, or like like a church basement or what. Like it
Mm.
was, there was no mobile vaccine bus, right? There was none of like, it was
Did
very orderly, very like, but it was done with a very good sense of urgency. But it was like,
was
know,
because it's part of MMR, right? No, it's not.
no,
No,
It's
no,
not.
no,
measles,
no.
That's
That's
measles
measles,
and
meningitis.
mumps,
rubella.
rubella. Right.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
There's the meningitis shot was a completely different shot. I
Did I
remember
get that?
I got mine at 8, and then I got another one at 15. A booster at
What
15.
grades would those be? That's
3 and
grade
10.
4, 3 and
Or
10.
3 and 10. Yeah.
I must have got it too because I remember. Yeah, I must have. I remember getting shot in grade 10, so that must be the booster.
Yeah.
It must have been the booster.
Yep. That would have been it. That would have been your meningitis booster.
Yeah.
Because
What did we get in like kindergarten?
kindergarten would have been an MMR booster because they give
Okay,
you
that's what that was.
they give you, I think they give you one at 15 months, and then I think they give you one at 18 months, and then I think they give you another one at 4.
Yeah, because that's the one
You
I
get-
remember. Because we were supposed to bring our stuffed animals to make us feel better, and I
Yep.
forgot to bring it into the nurse's room.
But I mean,
Trauma.
like, there was no like, and there was no talk of barring kids or young adults who
Mm-mm.
hadn't gotten the vaccine from anywhere, right? Except maybe school, because school is a petri dish,
Yeah.
right? But I mean, like, there was no like, if you don't have your meningitis shot, you cannot come into this restaurant. You know what I mean? Like, there was none of that. Like, why is it just this shot?
Power.
Like,
Political power.
I do not agree with vaccine cards, but if you're gonna do this, fucking put them all on it or don't put any of them on it. That's just
I
my
mean,
opinion.
If at to that point, since you're disclosing personal health. And you know, some people don't care. I'm like, yeah, I got it. Like, yeah, here's I'll tell you exactly what kind of vaccines I got, because for me, I don't feel like that's private. But you choose who to tell because you want to tell them that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Having to show, I find it's very weird. I think it's very weird. And then now we have here in BC, they've mandated it, so they're gonna start. For a lot of things, you will have to prove you are doubly vaccinated by October
So
something or other, I think.
I saw a
October
Facebook
31st.
post. I saw a Facebook post of, like, it was one of these little text, like, what if scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And it was like, so, okay, so you guys want to mandate a COVID shot. Okay, fine. So this is what will happen from now. Like, this is me going into a restaurant. Oh, Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so, we have a table right this way. But first, do you have your vaccine cards? Oh, well, yes, we do. But who is going to be our server for the evening? Oh, Susan? Okay. Well, where's Susan's vaccine card? And also, we'd like to know where your vaccine card is and where everyone else who will be cooking our food's vaccine card is.
Mm-hmm.
And also, do they have all their other vaccines? And on top of that, we would like to know Susan or our server's like credit history, and also, does anybody who will be cooking our food use recreational drugs? Because
Mm-hmm.
we don't want people who have been using recreational drugs to cook our food. So please provide a talk screen
Mm-hmm.
for all of your employees. And
What
like,
about infectious disease?
exactly, they're like, does
Hep
anybody
C?
who will be handling our food have hepatitis or AIDS
Mm-hmm.
or HIV or any of that? We'd like to see their medical records to
I
find
mean,
out.
Have you
obviously
ever?
this is going crazy, but
But
it almost feels like that. It's sort of like
Yeah.
an absurdist comedy kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's interesting, and I'm someone who is for this vaccine. I really
Yeah.
am, because I want life to get back to normal. And
Exactly.
I know just saying that kind of says like, okay, well, just well, you're the problem because you say you want life to get back to normal, which means you're falling in with them. Like, I'm like, no. I am annoyed about what's going on, but I also work in medical. So for me, right now, it's frustrating to deal with people who have no empathy for others. So patients who have no empathy for other patients.
Exactly. Well, and it's like,
Yeah.
I very much think that if and the Pfizer vaccine just got full approval, right? And I see everybody, oh, the anti-vax crowd, they're gonna have to move the goalposts now. And again, they're lumping the people who are concerned about mandation in with anti-vaxxers, and that's not okay. That's a dangerous argument to make. And you can be pro-vaccine and anti-mandatory vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
It is the
Well, okay. Standard flu shot, right?
Mm.
It is mandatory in certain, if you work in certain medical situations.
Yeah.
You actually have to show proof that you have gotten your seasonal flu shot, because you tend to work with people who have low to no immunity.
That makes sense. Like,
That'd
if
be
you're an
me.
oncologist or something,
Mhm.
you would probably need a mandatory
People still
seasonal
fight
flu
that.
shot.
People still go online and say, "How do I fake my flu shot?"
I think that there are cases, like situations where like there are exceptions, like you just pointed out, but like specialized medical, like if you're an oncologist or you're an immunologist who works with or someone who works with autoimmune cases,
Mhm.
right? Or, if you plan on sending your kid to public school, you should be having their childhood vaccines, because to keep them safe and to keep everybody else like it,
Mhm.
those situations. But to mandate a vaccine so that you can access your, if you just want to go to a restaurant, or if you want to go to a movie theater, I don't think that's anywhere near on the same level as, are you
And
working with people who could die from the flu or like a
exactly,
common cold?
and what does someone who works as a Ticketmaster taking
Right.
your tickets for a concert, how are they qualified to be looking at a vaccine? I mean, obviously they're qualified to read that yes or no you have something, but why would you be trusting that medical information just by showing it to some of these people
Mm-hmm.
when you
If they're taking your ticket at Ticketmaster, they
yeah.
clearly have a degree in gender studies.
I have teenagers that would be doing that job. I don't trust them with.
It
I have to tell them to take out the garbage more than once.
Yeah,
I don't trust them
you
with
don't, you
medical.
don't, yeah. You know, we're talking about meningitis. Let me tell you, if I had, knowing what I know now, having had meningitis, I would take a vaccine in a heartbeat. I would get vaccinated and stay current on that
Mm-hmm.
stuff. You don't want this. I only had the viral meningitis. Let me tell you, you think you've had a bad headache. You think your head has hurt. I've had migraines. I do suffer very infrequently, like one a year, one every 2 years, from migraine, true migraine headaches with the aura and everything. Um, I have never had pain in the back of my head and in my neck like that fucking meningitis. That shit is real.
Yeah.
They were offering me narcotics to deal with the pain, and the only good thing about it is the viral usually does not last very long,
Mm.
and the bacterial either never developed or never got serious enough, or my body fought it off or whatever. But anyway, but for about 2 days, I was absolutely I couldn't turn my head either way.
Mm.
I couldn't, and the way that they test for it is they say touch your chin to your chest, and the back of your neck hurts. So you just go fuck you.
Mm.
It's not happening. So yeah, I would get a vaccine for that stuff in a minute.
Since we're talking about that, don't forget you guys also need tetanus boosters.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I can't have
Keep-
the tetanus shot.
If you
No,
can, remember your tetanus booster. If you cannot, I don't step on rusty nails.
Oh, I
Oddly,
went through a
oddly
rusty
enough,
car. I can beat it.
I just had my tetanus boosted about a year ago, and I had a pretty bad reaction to it.
Really?
See,
Yeah,
I'm scared that I don't really get beyond pain in the injection site. I rarely get reactions to anything. Like that's the extent. So I have this paranoia that I get placebos every single time.
I get freaking every time I get vaccinated, I get I pass out for like a day. It doesn't matter what vaccine it is. I'm just like, okay, good night. it's it's very interesting. Like when I got my meningitis shot when I was in the third grade, my mom dropped me off at my grandparents' house, and I remember my dad was watching a movie, and I curled up on the den floor next to the dog, the black lab, and used him as a pillow, and just fell asleep on the floor. on the dog.
Yeah, so we have our second fall for the skies.
You checked Uzi.
Yep. Master of disguise.
I wanted to
That's how it
say
is.
something, but this conversation was so serious. And I didn't want to type. I was like, poor Uzi. She has no idea that it's not Prospero.
Yeah.
That's number 2. Let's keep it going.
Prospero had a sex change, everyone.
And a species change as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's the extent of your rant, is that government encroachment on the basis of concern for your health. Is that kind of where you were going with that?
Yeah,
Blind press?
they've kind of set us up for failure when a very, because if you think about it in the cyclical sense of viruses and humans, we're kind of due for one that actually could be very devastating, and our governments have set us up to fail in that sense, because their overreaction to this one is going to make everyone so cynical the next time that there could very well be significant change to the population of the planet.
God, I
will
hope
tell
not.
you,
But
I did have COVID, and it hit me. I mean, it was not a pretty thing.
No.
It knocked you down.
It
Pinkalo and I are pretty sure that we had it like probably within the first 2 or 3 months when it all started,
yeah.
and we were like down. It was like, the boys were like, "Mommy, Daddy, we want stuff," and we were like, "Okay."
get it
Go to your
yourself.
grandmother's.
The dog food's in the refrigerator.
Crawl to the fridge, get food, crawl back to lying down
Sons,
position.
you are men now.
Yeah.
You'll go out into the world.
Pretty much, yeah.
Congratulations.
Call
Here's the
grandma.
key to the car. Go to the grocery store.
Well,
DoorDash
working
it.
together, one works the pedals and the other steers. I've seen it on TV. It works.
Oh, that's funny.
If the Flintstones can do it, so can I.
I'm just trying to picture freaking the boys operating Pinkalo's van.
Speaking of government obnoxiousness and social obnoxiousness, Harry,
Oh, God.
Yes.
do you want to talk about what we talked about this afternoon?
We talked about several things. Is it the
The
class
high
one
school.
racism?
Yes.
Okay, so at a high school on the Central Coast, a group of students decided to do something that they really shouldn't have.
Oh, good.
Well, I mean, you all remember being a kid, and I'm giving away what my interpretation is already. You do rebellious things, right? Now, what is the most rebellious thing you can do? Well, it might be to get a baby doll of color, name it Shaniqua,
No.
and then pass it around at various events on the school with people doing various things, sometimes just holding Shaniqua, other times placing it in sexually suggestive positions. A few times
Putting a rope around its neck.
they put a rope around its neck.
no.
They stomped on it. They stomped on it a few times. And I think just the pièce de résistance of all this is they put a fake ankle monitor on it. I know I shouldn't laugh, but as horrible trolling goes, IRL, this is pretty bad. Now, these kids are being a dick. It's a pretty dickish thing to do. But of
Yeah,
course,
that's
terrible.
the usual cadre of race profiteers and sort of Karens of color have come out of the woodworks to talk about, oh, well, this just is indicative of how bad the problem is. And the comments on some of the videos for the news reports are just insane. They start saying, well, all these people who live in these areas are to blame. Oh, really? So it's an us against them kind of thing. Awesome.
we need to burn down their houses.
See,
All of the
and-
people who are at the high school the principal needs to be fired, the vice principals need to be fired, everybody who looks like them needs to be fired, and we need CRT
God.
training. You know, to my mind,
But
this
they want
is
with the perpetrators. Tell them what they said about they
wanted, in some instances, they wanted them expelled. Others wanted them expelled with a forced psychiatric evaluation.
yes,
Yeah, they
and an
basically want
electronic
to
scarlet letter to follow them.
an electronic scarlet letter, because we need to know who these people are. There are enough. There's enough going on here. I mean, it's obviously the wrong thing to do, right? You don't run around just being a dick on this level. This is clearly wrong. But to say that they need more CRT training because they don't understand what they were doing was being racist, I think is a miscalculation. I think they
were
did
racist.
what they did.
We need more polarization.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
this
did
is-
this because you people
sick
have
of
been
the-
doing. Yeah, this is a frustrated reaction
Yep.
by these kids to being locked up, masked up, vaxxed up, CRT'd up, and they finally get to the point where they can actually have like a high school rally. And so you've got pictures of cheerleaders getting their photo done with Shaniqua. They did create a Instagram account, which doesn't exist anymore, with all the
Oh.
photos of Shaniqua with the people. But I'm half tempted, since I am within driving range of this particular thing, to show up at that meeting and do something career limiting and just say what I'm saying right now. I think I'll just be a coward and say it on YouTube.
Well,
No, you
you're
should
wrong-
do
you're
it. You
not
should go to
wrong,
the school
Harry.
and you should stand up for.
Yeah.
Well, because Harry, you're not wrong, because like the very reason that this happened is because people are being told that just because they're a certain color that they're evil.
I do
And
think these kids should be punished
they're
and have a little
wrong.
talking to.
Oh,
I
well,
do.
Oh,
I
definitely.
definitely think there should
Absolutely.
be a school assembly where the principal just says, okay, stop being little assholes. You know what you did is wrong. You know, if we can see you doing something inappropriate in this, you are going to be suspended. And I am going to expect, you know, like a 1,000-word essay on why you're not going to be a little jerk anymore before I let you come back to school. That would be
Yeah.
appropriate.
I agree.
But
Yes.
the idea that we're going to ruin the lives of these people or give them more racial polarization. Because one of the local NAACP people, she looked like she was rubbing her nipples. She was so happy at being angry on this TV report that she was just, oh, we need more education. You know, it was just
So
not
is-
good.
Shaniqua is supposed to have her eyes pierced.
No, Shaniqua's not supposed to have her eyes pierced. I mean, for all I know, this is just the reaction of the students. They all just got new driver's licenses. That means they've all been to the DMV lately. I don't know. I'm just making jokes about it at this point. Originally, I thought it might not be so bad, and then I'm like, oh, I saw the pictures and found out they named it Shaniqua. It's like, yeah, you little assholes know what you were doing. But I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
think that it was racism in the sense of real racism. I think it was just people being edgelords and doing something
And
very
being
inappropriate to
thoughtless.
feel something. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And
Yeah.
but because they can, the Karens of color, what a perfect term. The Karens
Mhm.
of color are coming out of the woodwork to demonstrate their virtue, to show the need for other people to share their virtue, to be controlled by them into a virtuous way of behavior. You know,
Mhm.
and
Make them do.
you know, we must hate the whiteness. We must abandon the whiteness. We must destroy the whiteness. Oh, we love white people. We just hate their whiteness. What does that even mean?
Like,
That's what they teach in
BS.
CRT. Yeah,
It's BS, and I'm really annoyed about this. Sorry. I mean, I'm genuinely actually really pissed off about this because all of the wrong people, the race profiteers, are going to try to make a meal out of this. Now, I went and I looked at the webpage for the high school, and they've got everything pretty much right. Step 1, achievement. We're going to prepare you for the job market and further education. Step 2, create a good environment, blah, blah, blah. And that's where, they screwed up, because if there are any people of color at this school, it's going to be an issue. I would like to point out, this is the Central Coast, which means lots and lots and lots of the people are going to be Latinx in these photos.
Latinx, yeah.
So what they're doing by saying white people are the problem is they're essentially saying we've decided for the purposes of this discussion that Mexican Americans and Latin people are actually white, which is what they do whenever it's convenient.
Oh, yeah. In fact, they talk about people being white Latin or white Latinx if they do something bad, and black Latinx if they are virtuous or suffering at the hands of a cracker, as they like to refer to us. So I don't know what to say, Harry. I think you ought to go to the school board meeting and get yourself on the national news.
Probably. I should go to the school board meeting and just try to say something sensible.
Yes, exactly.
But I've looked at
Brandy was a racist forever.
Just make sure you're holding on to Shaniqua while you do it.
Yeah, well, maybe I should take Shaniqua there for moral support.
Do you want to bring DJ and Tommy?
Oh, you're going to loan out some of your black kids to give me cover?
Nice.
Oh wait, I'll send you Emma. She'll give
some of my friends' best adopted kids are black. Racist.
I'm totally not racist.
No, but it's okay. So let's assume that the proposition is correct, that these kids are a bunch of racists and they need to be educated about the past so they understand what they did. Right? Let's just assume that that's true.
They need to have their future destroyed too, though.
Yeah. So 30 years
kids
ago,
like this don't get well.
Yeah, well, 30 years ago-ish, when, people like some of the older people here were in high school, there weren't problems like this. So what you're essentially saying is that it seems like the racism is getting worse, right? I mean, if you accept that it is racism, the racism is now worse than it was back when the MLK ads were on, saying, well, let's just look at the content of your character. And people were trying really hard. It's not like they didn't see race, but they were kind of looking past it and looking for the content of people's character and not letting race become an issue. It's like, hey, if you're an American, you're okay in my book. That was the way things were when I was growing up and I went to high school. And now, because of all the crap that you've tried to shove in their heads, what you're seeing is psychological reactance causing them to rebel against this message. I think you can only tell somebody they're a piece of shit because of the color of their skin for so long before something like this happens. And I definitely differentiate between Shaniqua and their little gag that they did that kind of got out of hand, and obviously doing anything to a real person. But these people will make the argument that it's just one step away. Well, it's a huge step away. We all think evil thoughts and want to do evil things, but we don't actually do them because the disinhibition is real.
Isn't thinking about calling a person a bad name exactly the same as calling them the bad name, which is also exactly the same thing as shooting them in the face with a shotgun?
Well, isn't being a straight male and driving by like a Catholic girls' high school and seeing 17-year-old girls getting out and thinking, "Wow, that's an attractive young lady"? You're basically in the Taliban at that point. You really are.
You raped that girl.
Yeah, in your mind.
Girl.
Yeah. Speaking of Facebook posts, there's one that I saw. It said, "You guys should thank me for the restraint I'm showing for not being a serial killer."
Okay.
Thanks.
Just for the like.
I like that.
It just takes one bad day. That's
I
all it
like
is.
that.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's funny.
But yeah, I don't want these high school kids to be. I do think that the ones who decided to be little edgelords need to get their pee-pee whacked, but I
Yeah.
don't think I don't think that they need to assume that everybody is racist, and they don't need to restructure education around anything that doesn't directly contribute to these people's future success. Because
agree.
this generation, after all of the setbacks in learning that they have had over the last year, does not need another thing distracting them from the rest of their lives.
Mm-hmm.
Nope.
I would agree with you, Harry.
Yeah.
So it's really sad to see this kind of nonsense going on now when schools have bigger problems than
Much
crap
bigger.
like this. Sorry, I'm not talking very well tonight. Guys, what do you think about going to 11:30 and calling this?
I
it's not
As I am
21
just
here.
about out of voice.
that would be
Oh,
perfect
okay.
because
I'm so sorry.
I need to go to bed soon anyways. So if
I-
there's
I-
only 9 minutes left, then I will.
I was subverting my 11-year-old today, and I was explaining to him how they figured out the number pi.
Oh,
And it's an interesting conversation, but I realized I talked without stopping for about an hour.
Mm.
And the only time I paused was like drawing diagrams of of straight lines surrounding circles, and then more straight lines, then many more straight lines, adding up the straight lines and getting closer and closer and closer to the relationship between the diameter and circumference of the circle. But the as a result, I just don't have very much voice left. I don't mean to disappoint anybody, but I just it's going to be a very silent stream.
That's okay. Well, I woke up this morning and everything hurt because I freaking I was sleeping in my friend's house. I was sleeping on what will be her toddler's bed. It was a twin bed, but it just had, that thick foam. It's not memory foam. It's just like like a block foam mattress.
Yeah, the foam rubber we used to call it.
Yeah. It was just that. So not very supportive for a person with a bad back, but it's better than an air mattress. But then there was the train rides and sitting for an hour at the Toronto station yesterday. So I woke up this morning and I was like,
everything's
okay,
pain.
ow.
Yes.
And I think the best part of when you're visiting friends and everything like that, when you do the big trip and you sleep over and then you come back, is the first night or day or whenever in your own bed.
Mm-hmm.
It's just suddenly you appreciate no matter how much you love and miss your friends or your family, and it was such a good time.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like being in your own bed.
Yep. And then today I had both boys home because the 4-year-old this morning, he's like, I don't want to go to school. I want to stay with you.
Oh,
Okay, you can stay home today. So, and there was a heat warning. There's been a heat warning for the past 5 days. So we just basically stayed inside in the air conditioning and hung out together, and because both boys were like, Mommy, I really missed you. So yeah, it was just a lazy day in the air conditioning with the boys.
4-year-olds are sweet. at times.
Yeah, I was gonna say, look, he can be, and then there are times when he like freaking smacks his brother in the back of the head with things.
Well, yeah,
And-
4-year-olds are at the where they're stage where they're trying stuff out,
yep.
and some of their experimentation is absolutely wild, uh, just like what you're experiencing. Yeah, I could sit and tell stories about 4-year-olds I have raised.
No one. Sorry, Skep.
No, what were you
I
going to
was
say,
just
Jen?
say that I've said more often than I can count. Cars do not fly; they go on the ground. Do not throw the car.
Oh, the amount of times I have to say, please do not race on the furniture,
Mm-hmm.
or
That's not a jungle gym.
yep, or get off the cat house, because we've got this like 4 foot
I've
tall.
actually had that directed at me, but in another context.
Yeah, I was just like, wait a minute.
I was gonna say,
We have a 4 foot tall cat, like it's like covered in that carpet that all cat
Yeah,
trees
yeah,
are
yeah.
covered in,
Yeah.
and it's like a big shelf thing with a small house on it that the cats can go in. It's got an under part, like the 4-year-old will stand on it, the 7-year-old will stand on it, the 4-year-old will crawl into it and then go, "Mommy, I'm stuck in the cat house." Like, it's because it's meant for a cat, not a 40-pound child. Get out of there.
Yep. I don't have cat, but I've had, no, you cannot jump off that. I don't care that you think that's a parachute.
Yep.
No, you may not rollerblade while you're riding a scooter.
Mm. But that sounds like that would be really fun.
It's yes, but if I go to the ER too much, they're gonna call kids. They're gonna be like, okay, what kid number is this?
And you know what's really amusing is that when you look at today's kids and like the fact that parents are with their kids that are like 8 and 9, telling them like, be careful on that playground. Be careful. Be careful. And I'm sitting there going, do you not remember what you did on playgrounds without your parents when you were 8 or 9? Like,
Attempting to like swing upside down on the monkey
Yeah.
bars, falling on your head because you don't quite have the right swing.
I don't trust kids that don't have bruises.
I freaking
My
I remember,
knees are torn up from like completely
Yep.
scarred up from childhood.
Yeah.
my best friend and I, so my dad at the end of my father's street, there's a little, like, you turn the corner and you have to walk up this giant hill to get to the main intersection. And my best friend and I took it into our heads to take both of my scooters up to the top of this hill and just let gravity do its thing. And we both ended up hitting a bump and tumbling down the grassy, like, ravine part of the hill to the side of this sidewalk. And we were going at a pretty decent clip at that point because we were about halfway down the hill. And we were just, scooter and all, just bounce, 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 bounce down the hill, laughing. Freaking laughing. And we got up and we're like, let's try that again without falling this time. And it was like, I'm sitting there going, if I did that today, I would be in the hospital.
Well, think about parents of blind children today that wouldn't let their kid have a scooter.
Right? My parents were like, "You want a scooter? Fine, here."
And you figured out how to use it. It's
Yep.
amazing. It's like your head still works.
Yeah, isn't it awesome?
It's amazing that,
Head works
What
really
do they
always
usually
better.
say, BP? Oh my god, you're so brave.
You're like Superman. No,
Brave little toaster.
I love that. You're like Superman. What? I'm an alien? What? Oh, I'm confused. But
No, you shoot lasers from your eyes.
Yeah, you're plucky. But at any rate, guys, we've gone an hour. I think I'm going to have to wrap it up here. I'm sorry to be a short hitter tonight, but that's just the way it's going to be. It's
Yeah.
I want to first of all, does anybody have anything that they want to say that has gone unsaid, or are you ready for me to close it out?
May I shill?
Please.
So tomorrow, back into the groove with the coffee stream, and it's Canadian Wednesday this Wednesday, and we will be catching up on basically the first full week of the campaign and summarizing the platforms. Spoiler alert, all of them are kind of bullshit.
Oh no. What a surprise.
So yeah, it's gonna be a good one tomorrow. Functional and I are gonna have a lot to go. What in the great blue fuck about? So, and then there will also be a Beat the Blind Girl tomorrow night on Twitch. We will be doing Star Trek stream on Saturday, and we're gonna do the favorite weapons topic, and then for the next topic, Ghost Dog has sent me something over on Patreon. So I think since he's a patron, we'll give his topic the next stream after the weapons one, and I'll let you guys know what that is.
All right.
DMs. So
All right.
yeah.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else have any closing comments?
I will just end with a thank you to the Lords of the Night, sort of as we end that chapter in our internet history, I guess, because like we were speaking at the beginning here, without them, I wouldn't be here. And not only here, but there's other friends made that I am still a part of through gaming and through other like internet shenanigans. So yeah, I'm feeling mopey but happy. So thanks to them, and a good night to everybody.
Cough, cough. I'm the greatest.
Good night.
All right.
I have a
Good
migraine.
night. Well, good. I want to tell everybody good night, and thank you, chat, for coming out and listening to us this evening. Thank you, panel, for being a part of this. Thank you, Lords of the Night, for years of interesting quality entertainment, hijinks, and good times, and all the friendships and goodness that has come out of that. It's unusual for human beings to really hit one out of the park, and I think Lords of the Night was that. I'm proud to be a part of Minions and to have been a Lords of the Night fan, and I know that there will be more good things from these people in the future, as there will be from Minions of the Zoo, even if I'm the keeper. But for tonight, the zoo is closed. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.